What's going on? It's Mia Rene here, and we're back with another episode of the Faith in Business podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to overcome procrastination. We're going to talk about a perspective shift that will move you from procrastinating to taking action. Now, this is a game changer because the only way to get results in business is by taking action, and we have to take consistent action to reach success. But procrastination is putting off taking action. And if we procrastinate long enough, we completely fall off course as entrepreneurs. We will struggle to ever build that momentum that we need to be able to reach success. That's why this is so important to overcome procrastination if you struggle with this. And the truth is, the majority of entrepreneurs struggle with procrastination. Some have just figured out how to push through it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I am someone who has struggled with procrastination a lot. I'm that person that will put things off till the very last minute until I absolutely have to, or there's enough pain that pushes me into it. But I discovered that part of why I wasn't taking the action I needed to take was because I was associating pain with the very thing that would move me forward. And the truth is, we move away from pain and we move toward pleasure on a very fundamental level as human beings. So when we can shift how we're viewing things, we will find ourselves taking new actions and moving toward what it is that we now associate pleasure with rather than pain with. We need to associate pain with the right things, like not building our business, and associate pleasure with the right things, like taking action and moving forward. So that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm going to share a few things that have worked for me and some things I've picked up from other successful entrepreneurs along the way. Now, before we get into this today, I do want to let you in on a little special something happening. Okay. So this is, I don't know when you're listening to this episode, but at the time of the recording, I have a brand new Faith in Business 5-day challenge coming up very soon. So I'm going to send you to a link to get registered. It's totally free. You're not going to want to miss this because it's going to help you move into action. You know why I know this is going to help you move into action? Because we're going to tackle your business from two angles. Number one, how to win in business with the 5 most critical strategies and tools that will have you grow your business, but also how to win spiritually so that you can fight the battle spiritually and win. Now, when we combine these two together, you're going to be an unstoppable entrepreneur. And we're going to cover all of this in the 5-day Faith in Business Challenge. All you have to do is get registered over at miarene.com/Faith in Business Challenge. So miarene.com/Faith in Business Challenge. Go get registered for free. You're not going to want to miss it. And let's get into today's topic. All right, so like I said, we're going to talk about how to overcome procrastination. And we want to get into action. Action is the opposite of procrastination. And it's very interesting because biblically speaking, we know that God tells us that he will direct our steps. And I have shared this over and over, and I've given myself the pep talk as well, that God can only direct our steps when we are stepping. And I believe in entrepreneurship, that is such an important element, that we get moving forward with what we have, with what we know. We take a step, just take a step, because God can work with us when we take a step. He can start to direct us from that spot. But a lot of times we just stay put. We just stay stuck. We don't get moving forward. So I think it's so important to take imperfect action and be willing to take the first step. If we can take the first step, then guess what? Once we accomplish that, we can take another step. After that, we can take another step and we can move forward one step at a time. So we're not getting overwhelmed with this idea of needing to conquer everything in one day. But of course, it requires getting started with that initial step. And part of taking a step is being willing to not get it right, being willing to suck at things when we first start. We're not going to be great at everything. And when we're first starting out, we're not going to have all the answers and we're not going to be pros and everything's not going to be smooth. We need to be willing to just get going. The only way to move to the next step is after we take the first step. A lot of times we want to know all the steps. We want access to the whole thing, but we can't access that. I have described it this way. where if you were to enter a room through a door, once you enter that room, you now can see the whole room and you can see additional doors. But if you're standing on the other side of the first door and you want to see all the doors without stepping through the first door, it's impossible, right? You have to open that first door, step through, and then you can look around and see the next step. So I think it's so important to take the initial step of wherever you are right now. And another piece of this is not only just taking the first step, but a lot of times it's taking a small step. You don't need to do something huge. There might be something really big and scary to you in your head right now. It might be, I don't know, like if I were to give an example of, for you, it might be going live for your first video. For someone else, it might be launching their podcast. It might be different elements that are scaring you or seem big to you. Well, because of that one big thing that's overwhelming you, if you are not taking action on anything, then you're not moving forward at all. So one thing that can really help is take a small step, something that doesn't feel so big to you, because it gets you into action. You know, it gets you feeling accomplished. And I think that experience of feeling accomplished is very rewarding, which has us associate more pleasure with taking action, right? So in our business, when we are wanting to move forward, if we associate pain and overwhelm and all these things with our business and with moving forward, we will often avoid what it is that we need to do. But when we're willing to take that small step and say, here's something that I can do right now. Here's something that I can be successful right now that doesn't overwhelm me, it doesn't scare me, and I can get started with this. The reward center for the brain gets hit because you went and did something, right? Now you're going to feel in a different state because you're taking action, even a small action, and it's going to inspire you and motivate you to take another action. You know, motivation and inspiration for action never comes without taking action. You know, that initial action, that first step or that small first step, is you might be completely unmotivated and completely uninspired. That first step is very difficult. You're going from inertia and you're trying to take action. And it's very hard to overcome inertia, which is standing still. It's hard to overcome inertia and move into action. To get something moving is very difficult. So you might not be motivated at all. You might have no inspiration to do it at all. But if you can push through that initial one and tell yourself how good it's going to feel when you do that, it's going to have you push through that and take the action. Now, once you've taken action, you're now in movement. The next action is going to be exponentially easier because you're now in movement, right? The step after that is going to be exponentially easier from that because you're starting to get even more movement, and it builds and builds and builds and builds. This is one of the reasons why I don't know if you're designed like me or how you're set up, but I will tell you that one thing about me is I'll have a hard time sometimes focusing. And this is very common for people with ADD, ADHD, which I've never been diagnosed with, but who knows, maybe I have it too. But it can be difficult to get yourself to sit and focus. And then once you do, you can end up like hyper-focused or laser focused and sit there way too long, right? Which in turn has you feel like that is you experiencing pain because you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get up at all. I didn't get anything done. And every time I go to build my business, it's going to be this huge, overwhelming amount of time that I'm going to end up sitting there. So what you can actually do is train yourself to start taking a little bit of action early in the day, every day, because it's more about the consistency that's going to build the momentum. Because part of procrastination, and when procrastination gets really out of hand, is when you are in total inertia. Like you've procrastinated long enough that the action of going from inaction to action feels so big because you've been putting it off for so long and you've had so much resistance, right? Versus when you're taking a little bit of action every day two things are happening. One, you're getting in the pattern and the flow of action. You're starting to get into momentum. But you're not, it's smaller chunks of time and it's early in the day. So you're feeling accomplished. It might just be a short burst of time. So it's not an overwhelming amount of time to your brain to think, oh my gosh, every time I sit down to work on my business, it's going to consume me. No, I start early in the day. I take a few actions. I get present to my business. I'm looking at it. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm present to everything. I'm present to my clients, who needs me right now. I'm present to my marketing campaign, what needs to be shifted or moved. I'm present to my sales. Where are the sales coming from? Or when is my next promotion? Where's the money coming from in the business? You're present to all of that on a daily basis. It's very similar to finances, right? So it's very easy to avoid finances altogether. I don't want to look at them. I don't want to get present to my money. I don't want to know. I just want to live in oblivion. But when we actually sit down and get very present to where is the money? Where does it need to be moved? Where are the investments? What's happening? And it doesn't need to be all day. It's like a glance at, it's getting present to, it's sitting with, it's being with your business. It's being with your finances. It's being with whatever you've been trusted with, right? And the only way to get into any kind of consistent action is to be present to what's happening and present to your business on a regular basis. And I will tell you, I've had periods of time where I have completely avoided getting present with my business. I didn't want to sit and just be with my business. And let me tell you why. A lot of what I was resisting was this overwhelming feeling. Like, for example, when I lost my web tech guy, I really started to feel that significantly, because every time I would sit down, there was a world of things that I didn't know how to do. And it was too much to me and it was overwhelming. So then I would just avoid. I would avoid sitting with and being with my business, also known as procrastination, right? So I might be cleaning my place. I might be doing something productive, but not being with my business, not attending to it and not doing the things that need to be done to move forward. And as a result of that, you start to lose ground in the marketplace. You start to lose your momentum. Anything you've built, you'll start to lose it. Now, if you haven't built it in the first place, you just won't see the growth, right? You won't see things moving forward. But it's a result of that resistance, that procrastination. And part of overcoming that kind of emotion, that like, oh, this is too big, it's too overwhelming. Part of overcoming it is just getting present to your business and being with it and sitting with it on a regular basis. So, ideally, in an ideal world, if you're running a business and you're a faith-based business, you would start your day with God, whatever that looks like. It could be just waking up and saying, thank you, Jesus, I'm alive. Thank you for the breath of my lungs. Thank you for my arms and my legs. Thank you for my eyes. Thank you for my ears. Thank you that we're here. Thank you that I get another day to serve. It could just be waking up in gratitude. It could be time in the word. It could be time in prayer. I don't know what your morning is, but something acknowledging our great creator. That would be the ideal way to start a day. And the very next thing would be getting present to the business, not avoiding it, not running from it, not saying it's overwhelming, but tending to it, understanding that as an entrepreneur, I've been trusted with this and I need to sit down and get present to it. I need to connect to it. I need to connect to what needs to get done today, right? I need to connect to kind of like a big picture look at your business. I like to teach the entrepreneurs I work with, I like to teach people to look at it through the lens of the big picture. The big picture is going to be like the marketing element. There's a sales element. There's the, fulfillment element of how you serve your current clients. But of course, there's the acquisition of the new clients. and the marketing that you're doing for that, the sales that you're doing for that. There's these different pieces of your business that need to have some attention. They need a little bit of attention each day, or at least every week. And a lot of entrepreneurs, because of overwhelm and because it's all chaotic and it's all a mess and it's too much. And I feel like I'm failing, and they associate so much pain with it that they don't sit with it. They don't get present to the big picture of their business, and they don't pay attention to the main elements of their business, the marketing, the sales, the fulfillment, right, for current clients. Some people get very, very consumed in just serving their current clients. I know I went through this for a season where it was like, all I could deal with was, I have a group and I'm going to serve them and I'm going to be with them. And that's like all I could tend to. I couldn't also tend to and give attention to the marketing that I needed. And that marketing needs to be consistent so that when I open the next program, that program fills up, right? And so it's that really fine balance of, once you have your clients and you're serving them, don't neglect your marketing where it needs to be being tended to on a regular basis, right? So there's these different parts of our business that we need to get present to. And just being willing to get present to it, just like finances, if you're overwhelmed by your finances, just sitting with your finances and getting really clear about where the money's going and what's coming in and what's going out and how am I managing this and this. Just getting present and knowing where things are is the starting point, right? So being present to your business is the starting point. If you're willing to sit down and take a look every day, or at least once a week, minimum once a week. Oh my gosh, it really should be every day, ideally, if you're serious about your business or your side hustle. Getting present and then looking at what are the actions that need to be taken today to move the business forward. And I do want to clarify, one of the ways it's going to get you out of procrastination is realizing that you don't need to do everything. What needs to be done today? Asking yourself that question, what needs to be done today? And ideally, if you did this the day before, you already know what needs to be done today. So you're always a day ahead. You're always a week ahead. But asking yourself what needs to be done today doesn't mean you have to do it. So there have been plenty of days where I'm like, what needs to get done today? And it could be a whole list of things that is for my tech team, or it's for someone else, my assistant, someone else on my team. It's not for me to do. But my job is to get clear on what those are and get those tasks moved over to who needs to get them done. That starts the day off immediately. The ball is now rolling because somebody's getting things done for my business. I'm the CEO, I'm the founder of the business. So my job is to first get present to what is that, then I delegate and assign for the day. Now, it might be something I need to do. For example, let's just say I look everything over and I say, okay, today is a day for content creation, or today is a day for creating, either marketing content, or maybe I promised my clients some content or videos in the members area. I need to get that done. Nobody else can do that, right? That's for me to do. So my next step immediately would be get the camera out, get the camera set up, just like I do today. As I'm recording this podcast, the camera's also on me. So it'd be get the camera out, get the mic set up, right? And boom, get going on that. And then as soon as that's done, maybe I upload that to my assistant or my tech guy if I'm having anything else done to it. But otherwise, it all starts with getting present every day to your business, and then what needs to get done. And then either it's for you to get done, or you're delegating, or a combination of both, which is usually how it is, right? And then you get things moving, right? So let's just say you did this once a week at a minimum. That would be you sitting down, getting present to the business. What needs to get done this week? What do I need to do? What do I need to assign? What needs to get out there? So I used to teach this business model called the 1 hour workday. And the reason for that is really this exact concept, which is we need to sit down for an hour a day. And if we can sit down and look at everything and get present to it and assign and delegate, do you know how much movement we can have in our business? Websites like Fiverr and OfferUp, Upwork used to be called OfferUp, websites like that, you can outsource and be getting things done in the next hour that would have taken you all day. You could have a team of people working for you across the globe in different countries. In different countries, $5 an hour is a lot to them, right? So there's certain mundane tasks that you might pay someone to do, and it hardly costs you anything at all. But it's a day's work that would have taken you a whole day. And instead you're off shooting videos, you're being creative, or you're doing sales calls, or whatever it is that your business needs you for. So I think that's so important, to tend to your business, give it attention. It needs attention, right? Needs a little bit of attention, because you're the CEO, you're the visionary, you're the one that sees where it's going. So you have to sit with it and get present with it. And then from there, look at that small action that you can take today. And if you do this every day, you're going to find that you start building momentum and action. You start having fun with it. And very quickly, the reward center of your brain will get triggered, and you will start to love building your business. Part of why you associate so much pain with it right now is that you've just been associating with a feeling of overwhelm, or I don't know what to do, or whatever it is. And a piece of that, by the way, one thing that can help for sure is to have a good mentor, have a system you're following, have a blueprint you're following that you believe in, someone that like, and trust, who's a few steps ahead of you, and they're guiding you in how to do how to get the results they've had. That can help a lot. That's one of the reasons I love putting programs together and helping people through the process, because I'm bringing my unique perspective, but I'm also bringing the really difficult lessons I've already learned by making a lot of mistakes. And then I have that unique perspective to look back not only at how I was doing it previously, what changes did I make, what worked, what didn't work, and then I turn around and say, okay, here's what'll work. Here's how I can help you. Here's how I got here. Here's some of the mistakes for you to avoid. And you just get to save a lot of time, energy, and money, have a lot more fun, help a lot more people when you learn from someone else, right? Which is why I love what I do. Love it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, it makes a difference for people, because this is not an easy journey. I know the things we're up against, right? And there's some really cool distinctions and shifts that we can make. Like one shift in how you look at your business can end up having you take all new actions. Like today, if you take what we talked about today and you have a pattern of running from your business, if you have a pattern of creating chaos so that you don't get to build the business, if you have a pattern of, you're like Jonah and you've been called to this, but you're running the other way, right? If you have a pattern of resisting what you've been called to do and you're in battle with yourself, first of all, you're not alone. Oh my gosh, I so relate. Okay. So many entrepreneurs do, but there does come a point where you have to say enough is enough. I've been called to this. This is a spiritual battle. And I am definitely, the only way to win the battle is to take the action. No matter how you're feeling, put feelings aside, you take action, because the enemy wants he wants nothing more than for someone like you who loves God and has been a call to business. He wants nothing more than for you to do absolutely nothing and for you to procrastinate the rest of your life until you just take no action, because he's out to steal, kill, and destroy you, your calling, your life, your joy. And right now he's winning with a lot of people. And there's been periods of time where he was winning with me. And I just finally said enough is enough. Like, I'm fed up with this. I'm sick of it. I've been called to do this. And I'm going to go take the action that needs to be taken. And it was being first committing to taking the action that got me moving. But then once I was moving, it was like, all right, you can't stop me now. Because in action, God starts to direct our steps as well. I think God directs us to take an action a lot, and we just sit there and then we're like, why isn't God directing us? But it's like, he did direct you. He told you to make that video. He told you to do that podcast. He told you to do that thing, that make that phone call, whatever it is. And you didn't do it. and you're sitting here waiting on some other directions. God can't direct your steps. He can't give you the next direction because you're not moving, right? So it's so key to get moving in what he called you to do, and then trust that he's going to direct your steps. It's going to be imperfect. It's going to be messy. You're not going to be good at everything at first. You're going to suck at some things, but it's the effort that you're moving forward in faith. And, I believe we can often say, oh, I'm a person of faith. I totally have faith. I totally have faith. But it's like, look at your actions. Your actions are going to tell you if you have faith. I've had this conversation with myself before where it's like, I feel like I have faith, but my lack of action shows me that I don't trust that God's going to direct my steps. I don't trust that it's all going to work out, right? Like, I want to know the whole picture. That's not faith. Faith is taking the next step. That's it. And then taking the next step after that. And then the next step after that. Because I don't know what your third step is going to be. I know what you need to do next, right? Or I don't even know that. God's called you to do something next. So there's that. And chances are that's all you have. So you've got to do that and then trust that he's going to direct your steps from there. But I believe that I've drawn this conclusion, okay, from entrepreneurship where I'm taking action and entrepreneurship where I've called myself an entrepreneur and I look at my actions and I don't like how I'm not taking action. And I feel like, have you ever felt like a phony? I think every entrepreneur feels like a phony when they're not taking action on what they've been called to do, because I believe it's in our blood to take action and to take risk, okay? The entrepreneurial spirit is by nature, if you truly have it, by nature, the entrepreneurial spirit is willing to take risks that the average person is not. The very definition of entrepreneurship, if you read the definition of entrepreneurship, it is someone who's willing to take the financial risk. We have to, the bigger the risk, the bigger the potential win as well. That's just the reality. But so many people want to play it safe and they want all the answers. They want it all calculated. That is not entrepreneurship. It's not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is being willing to take the risk that most people aren't willing to take. And it requires faith. I was talking to someone recently. This is a whole nother podcast. I was talking to a very successful entrepreneur recently who I always ask people questions about where their faith is. And sometimes very successful entrepreneurs will tell me, oh, I don't rely on God at all. I don't pray at all. I just push through it. And they still produce, sometimes millions and millions and millions of dollars. Why? Because action in business leads to that success. Now, when I look at someone's overall life, I might say, well, I don't consider that true success because they don't have God, they don't have faith. Yes, but when it comes to straight business results, you can produce those results without acknowledging God at all, right? And then there's so many Christians who are like, oh, I love God, I fully trust God, but they're not willing to step out and take that kind of risk, right? I've seen amazing faith in Christians, and I've seen a lack of faith in Christians. And I've seen in non-believing people, I've seen them willing to take a risk in entrepreneurship. They're willing to take a financial risk that some Christians wouldn't be willing to take. So what would we call that? We can't call it faith in God, because it's definitely not. It's faith in something else. It's the willingness to take the risk and go do it. And you can get those results. But the bottom line is, I want to see those who love God and have faith take the risk, trust God with the whole process. It's either going to succeed or it's going to fail, but guaranteed either way, you're going to learn from it. And ultimately, it's not a failure when you have taken action. The biggest failure is, especially for Christians and people of faith, people who want to win in business and win spiritually, the biggest failure is to not step out and not take the risk and not take the action, but yet say that you trust God. We have other people out here that don't even have faith in God, but they're willing to take even bigger risk. So we have to ask ourselves, like, where is my faith? If I have been called by God to entrepreneurship, which requires risk, he's trusted me with this. I have to be willing to step out. I have to be willing to take action. I have to be willing to fail. And he's trusted me with this because I have the entrepreneurial spirit. The entrepreneurial spirit, it has risk, has a higher tolerance for risk. You just do. So if you're shrinking back and you're not taking action, like a little piece of you just dies. Have you noticed that? When you're listening to everyone else, you're trying to be like the rest of the world, a little piece of you dies because you've been called to something else. Now that's a whole nother podcast episode coming very soon. But I'm telling you right now, with the entrepreneurial spirit, you have higher risk tolerance. You're able to take risks. The only thing holding you back would be fear. If you're resisting what you've been called to do, if you're procrastinating what you've been called to do, it's time to break through that and start taking steady, consistent action on a daily basis. Every single day, sitting and being present with your business, being present with the uncomfortableness of the feelings that might come up. Maybe you feel the feeling of overwhelm, which is very common. Maybe you feel the feeling of fear, very common in entrepreneurship. Maybe you feel the feeling of a little bit of confusion, very common in entrepreneurship. But if you sit with it and you're able to be with all the emotions that come up, especially us women, we have a lot of emotions. You sit with those emotions. There's that fear, there's that overwhelm, there's that confusion, there's all those things, okay? And then you take a deep breath and you say, but God, he's called me to this. He's directing my steps. What is the step for me to take today? What do I need to get done? And what can I delegate and assign someone else to do today? Let's get going. And if you do that every single day, you will reach success. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's just the way it's going to work. You're going to have failures. You're going to have things that work, some things that don't work, but every day you're there and you're able to sit with the emotions and the feelings. You're able to push through it and take action, even when you don't want to take action. It's going to get easier and easier and easier as you move forward because you're going to get into momentum and it's going to start to become a lot more fun, and you're going to associate pleasure and joy with your business. And we move toward pleasure and we move away from pain. So you're going to just start taking more actions. That will eventually naturally happen, but you have to start with taking that uncomfortable action to begin with. So that's my call to action to you today, to take that uncomfortable action and to move out of procrastination and into action, to start to be present with your business every day, be present with all the emotions that come with it, especially us women, and sit with it, trust God with it, turn it over to God with it, be a person of faith who now takes action with what needs to be done today. Just today. We're not even promised tomorrow. So do what needs to be done today. And then I can pretty much guarantee you're going to be even more excited to do that again tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the day after that. So if this works for you, which I know it will when you implement it, let me know. I want to hear from you. You can leave me a review here. You can find me on social media. If you're watching the video of this podcast, you can comment below. I want to hear what happens for you when you implement this, and to remember that you're not alone. It is part of what we all are going through as entrepreneurs. The ones having the success just do it more consistently. The ones not having success are running the other way. If you want to stop running, just line up with what God's called you to do. Put on that armor of God. Trust God that you can handle whatever emotions are going to come up when you sit with your business, that He's going to direct you on what to do that day. And you're going to delegate and assign, and off you go. So let's implement this. I think you're going to have so much more fun. Now, I also want to remind you, don't miss the Faith and Business 5-day, totally free, brand new challenge coming up. You can register at miarene.com/faith and business challenge. So go sign up, totally free. Join us for these 5 powerful days where we're going to cover the 5 critical strategies to win in business and to win spiritually. Because when you combine these two together, you're going to be an unstoppable entrepreneur. You'll be able to overcome procrastination and doubt and discouragement and fear and overwhelm and confusion and all the things that come up for us as entrepreneurs. You're going to be so strengthened and unstoppable to be able to push through all of that. So you don't want to miss the brand new, totally free 5-day Faith in Business Challenge. Get registered at miarene.com/Faith in Business Challenge. And I'll see you there. God bless.